Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play Plant Zoo. My name is Nissa and today we are making a little night house, nocturnal house for the Tasmanian Devil. So if you want to see this, and I promise in the cinematics there will be darker pictures, I just wanted to show a little off here in the beginning. So if you want to see how I built this or just learn a little more about the Tasmanian Devil, then please keep watching. Okay guys, I told you in my previous Let's Talk Tasmanian Devil video that I have a little fun story about Tasmanian Devil, and I actually told it before on my channel. However, I did lie accidentally because our crown princess, Princess Mary, is from Tasmania, and she is very adored by the Danish population. I know it's not every single crown princess from other countries that are beloved by the people, but she really is really adored by the entire people. But I thought that they were given a couple of Tasmanian Devil as a wedding gift from the Tasmanian government. That was in fact not the truth. What happened were the 15th of October 2005, the Crown Prince and Princess of Denmark were blessed with a child, their oldest, Prince Christian, the future Crown Prince and future King of Denmark. So that prompted the Tasmanian government as a birthing gift. I'm not sure that's the right term, but I hope you understand what I mean with it. To give these Tasmanian Devils to Denmark. It was really debated a lot if it was a good idea, especially because a lot of Tasmanian animal welfareists and Tasmanians biologists wasn't sure it would be a good idea, since these are fairly small animals and have a lot of different kind of unique diseases that is quite specifically for them. So they wasn't sure the Danish people and the Danish zoos would be able to take care of these properly. However, a little time went by and it ended up that we actually got these, but it wouldn't be before in April 2006 we actually got them. Of course, I know historically royalty have had kind of their own private zoos with exotic animals. That's really not what we went by here in this case. So they have lived in Copenhagen Zoo, which is the zoo of the Danish capital. And therefore close to the royal main resident, where both the royal family but also you and I and everyone in between can come and visit these beautiful animals. Normally when a government choose to gift animals or lend out animals, as for instance the Chinese government have done with some giant pandas, normally it's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of the norm in most cases. But the thing is that the Tasmanian Devil are not found a lot of places, and one place I actually found it stated that the Danish Tasmanian Devils are the only Tasmanian Devils outside of Tasmania, and some places I just found they were the only Tasmanian Devils in Denmark. However, this is from 2006, so I'm not sure if that have changed since that. I will just mention back in 2012, we got gifted even more Tasmanian Devils, since the older one at that point sadly had passed away at natural causes. That happens in zoo. Everyone who plays the Plant Zoo are well aware of this fact. But I just wanted to mention that the Tasmanian government have been so lovable in all of this and really supported the Tasmanian Danish crown princess. And yes, even though it is a public zoo, The royal family do actually visit both the Tasmanian devils and other animals in the zoo, and are able to walk around just in between every normal person. It's not like you need to close down the zoo. We have a country where the royals can pretty much just walk on the street, however, with some personal security measures, of course, but pretty much no royalty and no famous person of any kind would kind of be important enough for us to close down the zoo or anything like that. In this regard, we have a very unique feeling here in Denmark, a concept called janteloven, which is this subjective law. It's not actually written down in any case, but it's just like a fictional law that states that every single person is equal. It doesn't matter which family you're born into or what you own or what you've done with your life. Every single person is worth equal amount, and that's also included in this case. Anyway, today's habitat is a tiny bit overkill. It's really big, and I will only have one male and one female Tasmanian devil in here. I know in various zoos they do have them in smaller groups, around 5 or 4 or so, but I only wanted one mating pair, and that's because Tasmanian devils are very solitary creature by nature. So once again, I made this up-splittable habitat where we actually have 2 habitats where you can open in between, so the animals can breed and go backwards and forwards, and then after breeding you can close it off and they can still touch and sniff and communicate with each other. They just aren't able to go in and actually hurt each other. The female habitat will be the ones that from this angle are on the left, and they are both same size. However, the female habitat will have a few extra features. For instance, some rocks with some straws on it where they can go up and lay and relax. And the babies can lay softly, and the vets can kind of have a look at them in a height where they are more easy to work with. And they will have an extra burrow, so when the babies get a little bigger, they can actually start using their own burrow before they actually are moved out of the habitat and out of the zoo. As you can see, I stay with these very tall roofs, and that actually helped me with the issue I have had in a lot of these indoors habitat, being that I cannot place any trees because the roof pieces are just placed too low. As you can see here, I believe we have around 10 or 11 meters high, which is really high, especially since this animal is not climbing, but I really think it gives a unique feel to it, especially when it comes to the plants. As you can see here in a minute, when we come to the plants, I can actually make some of them climb over or hang over the walls into the guest a little bit, and it feels more for the guest that way, that they are actually a part of the habitat and not outside the habitat or inside in this case. All the glass in here will be one-way glass, so the guests don't disturb the devils more than they have to. I did, however, remember just now that the sound will go over here, but since the wall pieces are made of wood and all of the sound will be directed upwards, where we also have a wood roof, hopefully it wouldn't be louder than it actually have to be. I will also make a staff window in the back end so they can look in when they open and close the gate in between the habitats, and that will also be one-way glass. However, it will be darker when I start building the habitats surrounding this, so there will be some foliage out there taking more of the light away. This roof is actually quite beautiful when you do what I do with it. As you can see here, I changed the color to this very dark color, and it's beautiful. It doesn't look natural in any regard, but it's just so beautiful. Yeah, I just had to fix it a little bit. For a more practical viewpoint, this habitat would be an easier one and cheaper one to build. We do not have anything that we have to ship. I have a few of the volcano rocks in here, But I do believe for this habitat specifically, it would never make sense to use real rocks, and therefore they would be completely built out of plaster or concrete or whatever you want to build it off. So therefore very, very easy. We of course have the enrichment in here, and again the foliage is native either to this island or surrounding islands. Besides that, we have the concrete walls and the asphalt flooring, which again is very cheap to build, and you can kind of build much of it in place, especially the flooring. And then we have these baster walls. I'm not sure what they are exactly called, but they will also be fairly cheap, and even maybe you can buy them as finished pieces specifically on the island, and therefore also help local populations getting more jobs and just more in an economical way help the local population, which is actually always a great thing to do when you are in these smaller societies, such as islands or far into a jungle or wherever you are. Every kind of isolated populations always could do with a little extra help. When we look at the Tasmanian Devil, we once again look at the Marsupialiae infraclass, which is the infraclass of marsupials, where normally we do look very much as animals like wallabies, kangaroos, koalas, wombats, quagga, or animals like that. And furthermore, we actually have like a carnivora class, which is for the carnivores, which they are not listed in, since even though these are clearly also eating meat. Zooming in a little bit more, we are going to the order, which is the order of the Desuromorphia, which is a order holding 77 different species. And just to make it short, it is everything that kind of looks like a mouse or squirrel, but are not mouse or squirrel. It could kind of be numbat, quail, Tasmanian devil, of course. All of these smaller animal, the dibbler, Dunnard, yeah, all of these kind of a little bit mousy looking features. And yes, I also believe that the Tasmanian Devil have some mousy looking features, being the narrow snout, for instance, and the very pointy ears. And if we zoom into the family, we are looking at the family at Dasuridae, which is the 76 of the same species, that would say the same exact species except one. However, going all the way in and looking at the genus, we are looking at the Sarcophilus genus, which hold two animals, one being the Tasmanian devil and one being the Sarcophilus laniarius. And that is here described as a extinct species of large Tasmanian devil, making the Tasmanian devil the only living species in its genus. The Tasmanian devil is about the size of a big cat, like my cat size and bigger. So we talk 4 to 12 kilos, being 8.8 to 26.4 pounds. They have a length of 52 to 80 centimeters, that is with the tail, being 20.5 to 31.5 inches. They have a top speed of 24 kilometers per hour, being 15 miles per hour, which I find highly impressive, since I know I cannot run that fast. I know some can, but these have really, really short legs, so they kind of have to move fast to keep that speed. They only live for about 5 to 8 years, and that's also why before we got to Denmark already were passed away around 6 years later. Keep in mind that probably they were adult when they we got them, so at least 1 year or so. Previously, the Tasmanian Devil were actually going strong in a big part of mainland Australia. However, nowadays they are only living in Tasmania, which have vastly decreased their natural range, of course. However, they are actually kind of rough animals. Like, they only live within the temperate climate zone, but for biomes they can go for with everything pretty much. So we have agricultural, anthropogenic, and suburban areas, which all are pretty much formed by humans. And I assume in suburban they will live kind of like foxes do, so they will eat trash or whatever they find and kind of be a pest to the local populations. I assume here, I don't have it on script, but they do also more naturally live in places like forest, scrubland, woodland, and grassland. And it says here that they especially would prefer something like dry eucalyptus forest, open woodlands, or scrublands. So kind of where there is some kind of higher foliage that they can hide between, but it's more open than what we think about when we think of a really tropical forest. And they also don't have the same humidity as tropical climate zones. I already mentioned that technically these are carnivores, and it's not because they will hunt and eat every kind of meat. However, they are this subcategory of carnivores called scavengers, and scavengers can actually also eat other kinds of things, but they are mostly carnivores because if there was an apple and a piece of chicken, they would prefer the piece of chicken. However, they are also what is called opportunistic feeders, which means if they are hungry, they eat whatever, even if it's not good either for them or their digestive system or the surroundings around them. They can literally eat everything from frogs, birds, fish, smaller mammals, reptiles, but they can also on occasion eat different kind of carcasses and even from bigger predators, meaning that they could take on much larger animals as long as they don't have to kill them themselves. And this is also why I do believe that in more populated areas they will go for a trash can, because they are basically the trash man? That's not the word. Garbage man of nature that goes out and clean up other animals' messes. As I mentioned earlier in my video, these are solitary animals. However, they can actually accept each other under the right conditions. For instance, these are not stupid. If you come across a really big carcass and you are like a small little Tasmanian devil, you know you are not able to eat it all before it's either just go so bad so it dissolves, or you will get really extremely sick. Therefore, it does make sense that other Tasmanian devil can come and join in the meal. They will, however, show some aggression towards each other doing this. They don't like the other Tasmanian devils to literally pull food out of the mouth, but if there's food enough to go around, we can share. But for solitary animals to be able to actually at least respect each other enough to do this, you also need them to be not too territorial. They cannot hold their own territory and then allow others to get in there as long as they're food. So they will normally just accept each other. They do not mark territory, they do not hold territory in any way, but they just are aware of keeping a little bit of distance to each other usually. This is also why you can have them in smaller groups in zoos, though it's not their nature to actually live in groups. Though the Tasmanian Devil technically are nocturnal because they are much more active through the night, they can actually thrive in a outdoor habitat in a zoo, and this is because they are awake through the day also. Here they will just normally like sunbathe or find some shelter in the dense forest to kind of just take a chill in. So they will not actually sleep through the day, but they won't either be super active. However, it will be through the night that they actually live their dens or their burrows or wherever they sleep, those areas. They will only leave at night. However, for each night they can actually move quite a lot, up to 16 kilometers per night. And that's because, well, if there's nothing to eat here, then I kind of need to walk till I find something to eat, which is also why when they find a big carcass, they can be very, very hungry and more focused on that than the other Tasmanian devils. But always get back to their own home each night, and especially females can be very protective of their burrow or den. Not in a territorial, like this is my territorial, but they do not want anyone inside their home or too close to it, especially if they have smaller babies. And speaking about babies, or rather baby making time, Tasmanian Devil are promiscuous. They kind of have to be, since they don't live with the same or with a mate. Then it's really hard to be sure that that mate is still around next season. But since they do stay within the same radius, it is still plausible that they will actually mate with the same, but it isn't actually on purpose. It's more like, okay, it's the same that's available, then it's the same male I use. Keep in mind that in the animal kingdom, it is more a practical thing about getting babies more so than finding love or anything like what we have in mind when we find our partners. The mating season normally occurs around March, and since they're only pregnant for 21 days, the female will therefore give birth around April. And she can actually give birth to 2 to 3 babies, which is quite a lot for a marsupial. For those not intertwined with the marsupial method, it's basically that you give birth, but when you do so, the baby kind of have to figure things out on their own. The mom will not wash them, they will not clean them, they will not put them into the tit or anything like that. No, they have a climb ahead of them because they need to find a pouch and climb into the pouch. It will be a little easier for animals that have a more like towards the back legs opening, like for instance Tasmanian devils, whereas a kangaroo, which pouch open up towards the face, they have to climb a little further. But 2 to 3 babies in a pouch actually sounds like a lot. And just to classify, these babies will drink milk from their mom while they are in the pouch, and the tits will be placed inside the pouch. So it's not like the babies need to get out of the pouch to eat. They will be provisions taken care of within the pouch, where they will stay for the next 4 months. After that, there will be a period where they start to get out a little bit, get in a little bit, and they won't be weaned off before they are at the age of 5 to 6 months old. I will mention that it isn't like they have a big Tasmanian Devil baby in the pouch the entire time. When most marsupials are born, they are just these pink blobs with like 4 small they kind of if you have seen guinea pigs babies, like they're not fully developed, they don't have fur, they are just small mouse like size creatures that are completely naked, completely pink, and most often they won't have eyes at all. However, they have to grow fast because of the age of 8 months, they will be completely independent and have to move out around that age. However, they won't be able to reproduce and mate on their own before they reach the age of 2 years. And just to make sure that everyone here are included, a baby Tasmanian Devil could either be called a pup like a dog, a joey like a kangaroo or wallaby, or a imp, which I really haven't heard about used as a term for a baby animal, but I'm here for it. I love the word imp, and a joey is also just so cute. So yeah, the Australian people or the Tasmanian people in that area of the world just have amazing words for things. Since 2001, 60% of the Tasmanian devil population have been lost to a disease called devil facial tumor disease, which is a form of cancer specifically for Tasmanian devils. This disease were also one of the reasons why people wasn't too keen of getting the Tasmanian devils to Denmark, but they have been thriving and doing great, as far as I am aware at least. And even worse, of the remaining Tasmanian devil, on average 60% of the Tasmanian devils in an area are also already affected by this disease. In some areas, it is all the way up to 83% of the population that have this disease or at least carries. And it is awful to work with animals this way. Besides that, they also have normal issues, for instance, that they have to compete with the intrusive species of the red fox for food habitat and den size. And all of this combined, they of course are endangered according to the IUCN Red List. If you lose so many Tasmanian devil in just such a short span, it would be extremely weird if it didn't put you in that spot. I will just mention that, of course, since the Tasmanian devil aren't normal in zoos worldwide, it is also limited how many Tasmanian devils there are in captivity, and therefore it's not that easy for captive animals to be reintroduced either. And I think most of us at this point know when you hear this diagnosis, maybe not this specific one, but any cancer diagnosis, a lot of us already have known that the fighting chance have been lost. However, I know a lot of wonderful people around the world are working on getting this population better. And there's really nothing more to say about it. Of course, they need help, and help are being given in the way it can be. But of course, it will always help with more help. For these kind of things, there really is one place to start, which is always the same place, which is research. Therefore, below I have linked to the University of Tasmania along with the Department of Natural Resources and Environment Tasmania. Both of them do research in specifically this, and I have linked specific to 2 articles by them where you can go and read more. Of course, if you feel the need to, you can also donate if you want to help yourself. Anyway, for now, enjoy the cinematics and I will come back afterwards. Okay guys, that's all I got for you today, and I will be back with the next habitat already tomorrow, so I really hope you want to join me there. And I also hope you enjoyed this habitat. It was really fun to build, especially with some of these new, I kind of want to call them mechanics for the roof and such. It's a little more difficult to build with, but I really enjoy it. So yeah, I see you tomorrow, and for now guys, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again, either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye guys.